X-Men. You were the X-Men.
Guys, around and around we go. What's up, guys? Welcome back to House of Power, our live-action X-Men and Deadpool in review. My name is Kyle. Thanks for checking out Project Potter, guys. We got our Wolverine hat here. We got our X-Men shirt, and guys, we are doing X-Men Origins Wolverine, which I think is like the first spin-off, the fourth movie in our little review here, guys. If you haven't seen the series before, what I do is go through my thoughts on the movie, my favorite character, a score out of 10, and then we're going to rank against the other three movies at this point. So, guys, buckle up. Let's go. Why does this movie exist? I don't understand why this wasn't a 10-minute or even a 15-minute at most scene in one of the X-Men movies. This is called X-Men Origins Wolverine. Okay, cool. We're going to find out how he got the, is it aluminium or something? We're going to call it aluminium. I don't know what it is. It's probably not that. How he got like his claws, right? Which is cool, except not really, because he already has the claws as a mutant, we find out, and he's like living through all these world wars, and this movie is just packed with like stars, and these stars were distracting me from the movie itself. Like Liev Schreiber being in this movie alongside him, dude, what he just doesn't really fit in for some reason. But him, we got Charlie from Lost, Dominic Monaghan, who's great, by the way. But then we got him. Ryan Reynolds is excellent in this movie as Wade Wilson, Deadpool, which is so cool. But this is like a Deadpool variant. And so he's got kind of like Cyclops eyes. We find out he's like being experimented on by Stryker, who I think is like a brother to the Stryker in X2. I don't know. That was kind of confusing. It was the same name and it was kind of sort of the same idea, but I don't know why this movie came to be. I mean, I do know why, because money, but also we spend the first like 2/3 of the movie, or at least the first third of the movie, as Hugh Jackman as a lumberjack, and he's like cutting down trees, but he's got his claws, and it's so weird. And they're like this group. He's like through going through the wars, but then he's in this group with all these guys. But then something happens where they all split up. I don't even think it's really explained. Liev Schreiber comes back and starts taking people out because I think he's working for Strider. But why would he take out his old crew? It's so confusing, dude. This movie was boring. It didn't make any sense. It was all ridiculous, over the top action sequences that were just like, oh, okay, guys. You know, like it's like Hugh Jackman on a motorcycle, and I forgot about this guy, Agent Zero or whatever his name was, who was coming after him in the helicopter originally, and Logan was just like, yeah, you don't want to do this. And there's just so many scenes in this movie, and it's crazy because like what a roller coaster, dude. We went from the best X-Men movie so far to easily the worst one. And it's like I don't know. I just don't understand why we needed this movie at all. We didn't need the movie. And I think some of the cooler parts, like I think Wade Wilson was easily the coolest part, and Ryan Reynolds was super charismatic. And that scene where he goes in with the two swords, dude, and he deflects every bullet was awesome. And I'm actually super excited for Deadpool and Wolverine because we're probably going to see that variant again, especially the post-credit scene where it's him waking up, even though Wolverine chops his head off. And he's got regenerative powers, but not in his neck, apparently. And I was like, okay, but I love how his head's going down this giant like power plant, basically, and the Cyclops eyes are still going, so it's like cutting everything up, and it was so ridiculous. We get Tim Riggins in here as Taylor Kitsch as Gambit. And Gambit was sick, and he's got like a staff. You shall not pass. He's letting a lot of people pass, but he's playing like casino, like 21 cards. He's throwing everything out. It's like, what is this movie, dude? Wolverine's got a love interest in the beginning, and she's really cute, but then it's faked out. And apparently they faked her death. And I looked down for 2 seconds, I swear. And then she's like, oh, actually, that wasn't me. I wasn't dead. And I'm like, what? It just, this movie's confusing. It's messy. It's boring. I feel like none of it mattered at all. And not having the rest of the X-Men cast too, although we do get to see Professor Xavier at the end, and we get to see, or Charles Xavier, I should say, and we get to see the origin of Cyclops. So he's like, Scott, come this way. So we get the origin of Scott, but obviously it's not James Marsden. It's a younger version of him. although it couldn't be that much younger because he was really young in the first movie too. But this movie just didn't need to happen. And I was really sad that like Wade Wilson's character was so cool. They fight on top of the power plant at the end, and I'm like, why did you go up there? And he's like, let's see a dance up here. And then he just teleports up there. I'm like, oh, so Wade Wilson has Cyclops eyes and like swords that come out of him, basically. So he's given basically Wolverine's powers and Cyclops' powers, which I guess makes sense if you're experimenting. If Stryker was experimenting on Scott to get the Cyclops eyes and getting Wolverine's powers. I guess he wanted to make like the Ultimate Soldier and put them together. But then he's also teleporting, so that's like Nightcrawler. So it is cool. I don't know why he like made his mouth shut. He makes the joke where he's like, "Oh, we finally figured out a way to shut you up." But Ryan Reynolds was super charming. So like half of his character, I mean, the whole point of Wade Wilson and Deadpool is his quips and his ridiculous nature. So to have Ryan Reynolds play that, which is funny because it's almost like, oh, he played Deadpool before he even played Deadpool, which is crazy. And he'll probably be a variant or whatever in Deadpool 3. But he was my favorite character. Spoilers, guys. He was my favorite character, and there was such little of him that it was really cool when he showed up at the end. But it just why did we focus so much on Lee Schreiber? And we found out that Logan's name was Jimmy, I guess, in the beginning, but it started off weird. And then Victor, I guess, was his brother, but he like accidentally kills his father. But then there's a line that says, "Oh, that wasn't his father," and I'm like, "What's happening, dude? What is going on in this movie?" And then like they have the bullets, the special bullets, and we'll just call them silver bullets because basically that's what it is. And Wolverine's basically a vampire. And she's like, that's not going to stop him. He's just going to regenerate. And he's like, yes, but if I shoot him in the head, then he will lose his memories. And I'm like, why? Like, why would that happen? He shoots him in the head, and then Wolverine wakes up at the end, and he's like, who am I? And Tim Riggins is like, bro, I'm Tim Riggins. I'm on Friday Night Lights. Like, have you not seen my show? You know who I am. But seriously, he's like, I don't know who I am, blah, blah, blah. And, he's like, I don't know this woman. And it's just weird. And they talk about erasing his memory after giving him is it alkaline aluminium? I have no idea, dude. Whatever the metal is in Wolverine, it was cool to see him get that because he like dies for a minute and then comes back. And they're like, oh, let's erase his memories, and I'm like, why? Why do you need to erase his memories? He volunteered for this thing, like he knows. And then it's like they just had to explain why he lost his memories in the first movie, but then that was confusing. But we already had like brief flashback scenes in I think X1 and X2. So it's like why does this movie exist? If this was a terrible movie, it was a terrible time. Lee Schreiber, dude, running like a dog or whatever, looks so dumb. I was like, wow. And there's so many shots in here that were like so poorly CG. Like when they're fighting on top of the tower, it was just like close up of the faces, and you could just tell the background was just so it stuck out so much. And this is a 2009 movie, so like I get it. The effects weren't as good, but I mean, this is just a rough watch, dude. And I think easily the worst one so far. Favorite character, as I said earlier, it's Wade Wilson. It's Deadpool. We don't obviously get him in the outfit, but he's like a variant. But Ryan Reynolds, which is funny, plays Deadpool, and this was like the precursor to his Deadpool movie, which I think came out in 2015, 14, 15, somewhere around there. So this was a few years after. But I think I saw an article somewhere. Don't quote me on this, guys, because I might be misremembering that they saw him. Was it Fox that made Deadpool? They saw him in this and they loved him so much that they're like, let's make Deadpool. Like, let's just make him Deadpool. And then obviously he's taken off, and Deadpool's an amazing character. So it's interesting to see him in this, but then like I said, he doesn't talk much, but he was just so awesome, dude. Super skilled. And then like he's being experimented on. And I guess I missed that part when he even got like captured, but I guess it's just assumed that like Schreiber got him and then gave him to Strider. And it's like, because he's kind of taken down all the mutants, or he's like getting all the mutants together, and then he's being experimented on. But I thought he was awesome. Ryan Reynolds is amazing. He's so good, and it was interesting to see a different version of Deadpool. But even at the end, when he's got the laser eyes, and then like it gets dark, there's like dark like mascara or something, and it looks like Deadpool eyes. I'm like, oh, that's cool. So even just as a Marvel fan, and now knowing that like the X-Men and everything is being tied into the MCU, it's really cool to go back and watch these and be like, oh, this is going to be really fun. Like I'm going to have context for this now in Deadpool 3. So I'd be shocked if we don't see him in Deadpool 3. I think he was just an amazing character as Ryan Reynolds just crushes it again. All right, guys, the score for this one. This is a 5-2. It's just not a good movie. It's really like laughably bad at a lot of points, and just the scenes. It's just heavy action scene after heavy action scene, but not good action. Just like super cheesy, like exploding things and Wolverine like posing in front of fire so that he can look cool. But it was so over the top. I mean, dude, even when Wolverine like goes to release all the cages and he like goes down and he's almost doing like a high five thing. It's just man, this movie sucks. It really sucks. And Hugh Jackman, Hugh jacked man, he got fit for this. He looks great. But man, Leaf Schreiber was super distracting. He's just too big for this role, and he's kind of got like a weird vibe. And I haven't seen Ray Donovan. I heard it's great, but him as a lead role in Ray Donovan is cool. But him being alongside Hugh Jackman was distracting. And then just I just didn't care about his love interest, and him being a lumberjack was weird, and then being in the war and that opening montage was really strange. And I'm just like, this whole movie should have been a 10-minute flashback scene in the original X-Men, but we already had flashback scenes in the original X-Men, so I'm just like, this movie was made as a cash grab. It's not good. I don't know if it made any money, but man, this one was a brutal watch. That brings us to our rankings. This one's going at the bottom, of course. So if I remember correctly, guys, I don't have my list pulled up in front of me. We have X-Men: The Last Stand, easily number one, then the original X-Men, the next two, and then this X-Men Origins Wolverine as our four movies in, guys. So man, this one, I don't know if anything is going to be lower than this one, but it's going to be tough. This was again, I was laughing out loud at a lot of scenes because they were so bad, and it's just inconsequential, really. I mean, Professor Xavier, I guess, shows up at the end, but how did he even know to be there? I guess because he's Professor Xavier and he's got all the mind powers. That's why he's like speaking to Scott. But why did he pick them? He must have been following Stryker and stuff. But it's I don't know, man. This movie sucks. All right, guys, that's another episode. House of Power. We are count them, 4 movies in now, guys. So we have, I think, 7 more live action X-Men movies. And then there's also, so this movie came out in 2009, right? And then I think in 2013 we have The Wolverine. And I'm like, this already felt unnecessary. You're telling me there's another Wolverine movie, just Wolverine, 4 years later? I don't know, man. I don't have high hopes for that. But again, Hugh Jackman's great, but I feel like Wolverine's character is cool, but there's only so much you can do with him, right? Like, it's cool. He's jumping and he's got it, and we know he's full of metal, but especially considering Magneto can just wreck him. Like, and this is a prequel, so it's like, oh, your body's gonna be all metal, and you're gonna be able to regenerate, and you'll be virtually indestructible, unless you run into someone who can completely control metal, and then he's just going to be able to throw you around like a rag doll. But if that doesn't happen, you should be good. And it's like, okay, so what I mean? So it adds an interesting dynamic, but it is kind of like Wolverine is kind of useless against Magneto, as we see in the previous movie. So, but that's another episode, guys. House of Power. Appreciate you. Let me know what you think of this movie. Maybe I'm in the minority and people love this movie, but I'd be pretty surprised. But either way, guys, until next time, appreciate you. Let's see you dance now.